launching is not for everybody for lots of reasons. We could talk about business-wise why that's so. The intense way to do it isn't for everybody. Does a launch world create the life you want? And if it doesn't, it might not be the right fit for you. And that's totally fine. There's lots of other ways to launch your offer.
Welcome to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast, where you will learn how to remix your mompreneur life so that you can win at work without losing yourself in the process. Hi, my name is Martine Williams, and I am your host and CEO, your Chief Encouragement Officer. And this podcast is your one-stop shop to creating a burnout-proof life and business and elevating your clarity, confidence, and courage. Friends, it's time to say goodbye to being the yes girl and hello to creating healthy boundaries, healthy mindsets, and healthy habits. Your next breakthrough starts here. This is the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. Let's do this. Well, hey friends, and welcome back to the show. I'm so excited to introduce you to today's Turquoise Talk guest, Hallie Agostinelli. I think I said that right. We've known each other for quite some time. We were both in a mastermind together, and then I hired her to help me with several of my launches back when I was launching Choose You, and we did the Reverse the Burnout Bootcamp. Some of you will remember that. So Hallie was behind the scenes, inside the community, also helping me with launching. And so I wanted her to come on the show today and to share updates on launching businesses, what that looks like today. So let me tell you a little bit about her. Hallie has spent her career in several different industries, from Marriott Hotels, Wells Fargo Home Mortgage, and BNI. She started her entrepreneurial journey 15 years ago when she became a professional organizer. She taught herself how to run launches when a client needed support. And then 2 years and 150 plus launches later, she has perfected her own brand of launch admin support, social selling, and management. Currently, Hallie has expanded beyond launch support to full strategy and consulting. She helps coaches, consultants, and service providers translate their expertise to the online world with ease and joy. With ease and joy. She really does. She recently added best-selling author to her bio during a collaborative book project written for women business owners. On a personal note, she is married to a fire captain, has 2 adult kids and one in high school, 2 cats, a dog, and lives in sunny South Florida. I can't wait for you to meet her. She is just great. And I know you're going to take a lot away from this episode. So let's dive right in. Welcome back, friends, to the Mompreneur Life Remix podcast. I'm your host and CEO, Martine Williams, and I am really excited for today's guest. She actually helps me in several of my launches, and we were just chatting before we started recording that it's been a while since I've launched. And I'm like, I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but her and I have stayed in touch, and I'm really excited for her to come on the show and just share with you all about launch trends. Like, do you really need to be launching something? And just kind of give you some helpful information as you look for your business goals this year. So thank you so much, Hallie, for coming on this show. I'm so excited.
I am so excited to be here. I've missed you so much. Well, we still keep in touch in social, but like having interaction and conversation, I've missed so much from when I worked with you for probably, at least 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
I think we were pretty tight. Yeah.
Yeah. I couldn't have launched without you. Like even today, I've told you, like, if I ever launch again, have a big launch, like I got to have you, because I had a little bit, I told you this recently, like I felt like PTSD from it, because I think I did 4 or 5 launches that year, and that was my goal. And I was just going to just do it. And even having the resource of having you to help me and support, it's a lot of work. It really is. And like just the going live part, I love that fueled, and that was definitely in my strengths. It's all the back end stuff that you help people with and building the community. It's just really, really amazing. So first of all, before we jump into that, tell us a little bit about you and your family, and like, how did you become an entrepreneur? Why was this kind of what you decided to do?
Well, I didn't even mean to do it, which is, I love when things happen on accident in life, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I say I accidentally started an agency, and that's true. I mean, I had a full-time job when we headed into the pandemic, but I was working part-time as a like social media content writer, marketing assistant. I tried to launch a business like that, but I wasn't really successful in it. I couldn't really find my jam, like my rhythm to get full-time clients. So I kept some clients on the side, but I took a full-time job. And when my hours were cut during the pandemic and everybody was sent home to work and everybody freaked out. And
Right.
I said, well, I need to ramp something up, to make up for the income. And so let me just toss my hat back into the ring of, really being someone's marketing person, kind of like a CMO role is what I was looking for. And we ended up in the same community.
Yep.
And I learned about launches, and I thought, well, I don't really know about this launch stuff, but I think there's a possibility I could get some cash infusion into my business if I learn this and support entrepreneurs. And I never looked back. I learned it. It came so naturally to me. It made sense to me. The role that I played in the launches for my clients was just what I felt like I was meant to do this.
Yeah.
And before you know it, that my first launch support was in May. And by June or July, I was so busy, I needed to hire someone else. I ended up with 4 people, and we were booked for 6 months out. And next thing you know, I'm,
right.
had more business than I knew what to do with. But it was like timing, and, the whole thing was timing. And also my willingness to just figure it out along the way and have a curiosity mindset of what works and what doesn't work and what can we tweak. Each launch is different. And I care so much. And I think that's really what attracted a lot of people to using me, because we really took it on like it was our own launch, right? In my agency.
Yeah.
So that's my story. So obviously I quit my job, and I had, I had this launch agency. So it's been, we're a few years into it now, and I've gone through lots of ups and downs in the launch world, and I've had my own version of PTSD from it. So I totally understand what you mean with that. It is a real thing. And if anybody tells you it's not exhausting to do a launch, they're lying to you,
right.
because it really is. But
And I do think that it is really clear. And that's why I say would want to work with you again, is that you really do care. And I on 100% felt like you took on my launch like it was your launch, like you treated my community like it was your community. And that just says a lot about your character and, how you fully support people. And if anybody is looking for someone, I just think you're the best. So thank you so much for the support that you gave my community. And I love what you said about, you just kind of figured it out. I think there's so many people, especially mompreneurs, who were just afraid to take that first step, right? We're into the land of the unknown. And I was actually speaking with a client yesterday who's just been living in limbo. And she's like, I've just been in this land of indecision. And, trying to figure it out in your own head, which is really difficult to do because you're in your own head, right? About it. You're having all the self-sabotage, you're having all the doubts, all the fears, because you don't have the full blueprint. And as someone who loves the full blueprint and wants all the details, entrepreneurship just doesn't work that way. I mean, you have to just take that first messy step and then figure it out.
Yeah, you do. And it is, I feel like the way we're taught our whole lives is like, here's a process, here's a system, here's a textbook, here's the formula. And there are formulas for things in the entrepreneurship world, but everybody is different. And what works for one person and your ideal client is not necessarily something that works for others. Or you follow people and you're not realizing they do have a support staff behind them, and you can't afford that yet, or it's not in your budget yet. And it just becomes intimidating or overwhelming. A lot of comparisonitis going on in our space. And really, it's just, just do the next right thing that feels good, right?
Yeah.
And whether that's, do I like reels or not like reels? Like just what feels natural and good, and the right people will come into your world when you're doing what works well for you, and centering it around the kind of life you want. So launching is not for everybody for lots of reasons. We could talk about business wise why that's so. But in the big launch, I'm talking like a big Facebook challenge launch.
Right.
Everyone should be launching their products, but there's lots of different ways to do it. The intense way to do it isn't for everybody. Do you have young kids at home? Is it just not, does a launch world create the life you want? And if it doesn't, it might not be the right fit for you. And that's totally fine. There's lots of other ways to launch your offer than having it. I always say, like, what kind of life do you want to build? And let's build your business around that. And I think when you're an entrepreneur starting out, there's so much pressure to perform and to do it these certain ways. And sometimes they don't feel like it works for you and your family or your own personality.
Mm-hmm.
And just really stepping into that confidence. As soon as you get clear with that, I feel like the door's open and
Right.
your people find you, don't you think?
Yeah, for sure. You can't fake it. They say fake it till you make it. You cannot fake it. If you're exhausted in your launches, the energy that you're bringing to the community, it shows through, and I think that's probably one of the reasons why I haven't, because I do just it just doesn't feel right for this season for whatever reason. And I can't really explain it, but I just know I'm not supposed to be doing that right now. And I love that you said there's so many ways, because I do think we get pigeonholed into this is the only way. And it's really just, who are you following? Like, some people are like, this is the only way,
right.
To do it. I do think picking one and sticking with it, which is why I did that year. Like, I'm going to give this 4 or 5 times to see how I like it and how it works, and then reassess, instead of trying to do 6 or 7 different ways of launching something. Like, pick one, roll with it for a while and stay committed. Because if you don't give it enough time to work, you don't really know. Is it just, I need to tweak some things? I need to hire a Hallie to come along and help me? Like what is it, So tell me, give me some details. You said it's not for everyone. So who would you say, like, let's talk about that a little bit.
Yeah. I like to bring this up when we were all working from home and everyone was sitting at their computers looking for things to do or fill their time with, or kind of like contemplating their life. There was so much opportunity on the internet, and everyone was throwing a challenge together, and everyone was throwing a group program together. And we were taught that you offer one big offer, a group program that you can scale to millions and launch into it. And I feel like that's where we all went wrong, because that's a one size fits all. And so not every coach needs to have a group program.
Right.
Not every group program needs 100 people in it. Right. So I think we were trying to take what is a very, very successful launch model and put people through it as a coach that didn't really fit. If you're starting out, you really need to test your coaching offer first before you launch anything. So before you go launching a big group program, we really want to see someone testing one-to-ones, some masterminds, some maybe boot camps where you're taking people through something for a number of weeks. You will learn so much from that first group of people. What are their challenges? You think you know what your clients need. You probably know this as a coach. You think you know what they need. I'm going to design this program and I'm going to teach them all these things. And the questions they're asking you aren't anything that's on your curriculum. Maybe it'll get to the curriculum, but there are other things. And so I feel like giving yourself permission to not launch right away a big group program or even a mastermind or whatever it is, do some one-on-one work. Focus on that. You'll learn a lot from those clients, and you'll learn, do you even need a group coaching program? Do you even scale? I think it's just because everybody's had a group coaching program and one big offer, it doesn't mean you need to do that. Or you're going to spend so much time and energy, not only creating that program, but creating the launch. And maybe it's not really what your market needs. So that's the first thing, is if you're starting a coaching business, maybe do a little testing of your market first in real life, one-on-one or small group. Like, you're just going to do a cohort and walk them through something. And then once that's tested and you love it and you like coaching in that way, then maybe consider launching into a bigger coaching group. That's when I feel like the big Facebook challenge launches would be appropriate for that,
Right.
Yeah. So that's right off the top of my head. That's someone that you're just not ready to launch yet. And that's actually great. You may find that really works for you and you don't need to do a big launch.
Yeah. Yes. From someone who has built the group coaching program, did the launches, and now I'm really focusing more on one-on-one. Like, I love the one-on-one coaching. And I do think it's a really great place to, like you said, gather the information on if and when, which I do think I will eventually relaunch the group coaching program or my course. But now I have so much more information of the other things that they need. And I mean, from an income standpoint, since we are mompreneurs and we're doing it to serve, but also to make money. Like it's a higher ticket than one-on-one coaching, so it really helps you. And when I think I might have been Chris Kinney or somebody who talked about that upside down funnel. Like so many people try to start with the freebie and work to the high ticket instead of starting with the high ticket and then building out your program from there. That made so much sense to me.
Right.
And that's when I stopped launching. I was like, wait, I just need to bring on some one-on-one clients. Even though I've been coaching women for 17 years, it was just really like helpful to get me down to a single focus and helping one woman at a time,
Right.
6 clients, however many clients that I have one-on-one. And I do think that's a really powerful way to learn about your market.
And some people might, if it's not coaching, if it's something you want to teach someone how to do, that's also another method where you don't necessarily need a huge launch right away. So you might start out with a course. Mm-hmm. So I was at a networking event for marketers, online marketers, and I ended up like having dinner with, you meet people at the conference. You're like, who's free for dinner? I'm here by myself. And she taught people how to quilt. And I was like, what? She said, yeah, I taught people how to quilt. And I created a course and I have a YouTube channel and it's huge. And so from there, she just did a little course and put it together and promoted that. And then once she saw they're actually learning, they're as a coach, you'll say, are they getting results? Are they enjoying this? Is it working really well? Then maybe I can take this into a bigger group program, right?
Right.
Where I can have something larger, maybe not a quilt, but as a coach, you just do throw a couple modules together of your process of raising your children, with, that have learning challenges and what you've done. Like if that's those are the people you want to pay, if you want to coach parents with children that have some learning issues, and you've come up with your signature way that's helped. Maybe you put a course together and not even do one-to-one coaching, but maybe, a little bit, and then you could launch into a big program once you've tested that course.
Yeah.
So it could be one-to-one coaching, or if you're not into one-to-one coaching and I just want to show them my method, you could throw a course together. And that doesn't need to be complicated. You could put it in Google Drive.
Right.
And share that. Like you don't need a big, I love Kajabi, I'm a Kajabi.
Yeah, me too.
Right. And eventually you could put it on Kajabi. But I guess my message to everyone would be, don't put the pressure of what could happen in 2 years on you on month 1 or month 2, 3. Just you start where you are with what you have and do it in the way that's easiest for you, and then test it and tune it and make sure people are getting results. And then you can graduate to that next level. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And the beautiful thing about entrepreneurship is the freedom and flexibility to build it the way that you want, right? Based on your strengths. And that's the work that I do with my clients now. I really love because I can help them build that business knowing like, this is your strength. Like if you're, not someone who likes to be in front of the camera, then, doing a bunch of reels is not going to be fun for you. And it's not, you don't have to do those to build a successful business. I interviewed a lady yesterday, an entrepreneur who is off social completely.
Yeah.
All of her leads come from her podcast, and it's like, we have, right? It's like, oh, that would be amazing. I'm like, tell me, are you still, she's like, I'm still not on social. And 90% of my leads comes from my podcast. So I go all in on my podcast. I'm like, wow. Okay. So that just shows you there's so many different ways to do the business, and you just have to be really honest with yourself and what brings you joy. Cause if it's not bringing you joy, you're going to burn out eventually on it. Not that everything we do in our business, there's plenty of things in business that I don't love doing, but they're necessary, right? Like I don't love doing laundry, but my kids want clean clothes or I want clean clothes. I got to do them. Right. So I'm not saying everything has to be joyful, but for the most part, if not, you start resenting your business and you start resenting the tasks that you're having to do or feel like you need to do. So tell me about launching right now, because again, it's been a while since I've done a big launch, and I've been, I still follow a ton of entrepreneurs and I kind of watch what they're doing. And I see some trends where they're doing like a 3-day, masterclass, or, they're doing it on Zoom, not in Facebook groups. So can you kind of give us an update on what you're seeing, what's working with launches and what's not working?
Yeah. Well, I will stand on this hill. Is that what the saying is? I will stand on the hill that if you're going to do a challenge, if you're wanting to scale a large group coaching program, the 5-day challenge, which turns into a 9-day launch, is your best method. Because the more time they spend with you, the more sales you're going to have. The 3 days, the 2 days, they're great. It's a great experience for you and your client. They don't have as much time with you to really learn who you are, trust you, hear all the testimonials, unless you might have a huge open cart area and throw a couple bonus sessions in there. So there are ways to take it and shrink it a little bit. I would just make sure if you're going to do a 3-day, you really nurture the heck out of them until cart closes with bonus sessions or some testimonials. And, so I still stand by the fact that the 9-day launch works best, even though the conversion rates are lower. I mean, it's just the way it is.
Yeah.
People are very, very particular about how they're spending their money and their time right now. Mm-hmm. So it could be, yes, they have the budget for it, but is this the right time for them in their life for your program? And I think 2 years ago, they were like, sure, I had time on my hands.
And extra money because they weren't traveling and doing all the things.
Right. I could spend a little time in 2 programs. I could have 2 or 3 things going on, but now we're kind of back to normal with our schedules and our routines. And so I'm finding the people that say not now in 6 months, they actually mean that. So the buying cycle is going a little bit longer that we're seeing because you need to hit them right when it's great timing for them. Yeah. So what that means is nurturing your audience between launches is even more important than ever. So to me, the launch mechanism itself, like if I were to launch with you tomorrow, it would feel very similar than it did, a couple of years ago. But what we're going to do is make sure your holistic marketing feeds it, before, during, and after, that it's a seamless experience, that you're not just showing up when it's time to sell them, and that you're building community and connection with them. However you do that, it could be through your podcast. It could be in a free Facebook group. It could be just that you're all present all the time on Instagram, sharing and giving them love and supporting them. So I feel like the connection part is more important than ever. The nurture part is more important than ever, because conversion rates where you would see like a 3 to 5% conversion rate in a launch before, now it could be down to 2 with, and you were like, it's the same thing. Why isn't it? People are just, their buying habits are different.
Right.
So people are still buying. It's just, they're doing I really must have this and I must have it now, in their life where, I actually like this person, but I don't, it's not the right time for me right now. I know I personally went through a launch and I did an email. I think you read about that. I attended 2 launches recently as the user. Yeah. And I was like, I'm going to be mindful of my experience, not to judge, but to learn and to see how it felt to go through that. And really, one of them, I want to work with her. It's just it really is not the right season in my life right now. Yeah. So whereas during the pandemic, I would have bought like that. So I think if you really just think of it that way, it's not the economy and it's not that people are still buying. They're just, I like the trend that we're not in hustle, overcommit. I like that our society is saying, wait a second, be careful about where you're spending your time, your money, your energy. So it's taking people longer to come to the decision if they want to be a part of your world. Yeah. Because they need to get to know you and trust you. Some people have been burned in the coaching industry also. So they want to make sure you're legit and you're actually going to provide results in your program. And the launch experience needs to be good and hearty as well. Yeah. So I don't think the actual launch process has changed all that much. It's what surrounds it, right? Yeah. Yeah, it does. I mean, it's all about, again, because like with you, like you generally care about people and you can see that the more time you spend with you. And so the more time they spend with you, whether that's in the email or on the social, and then they actually get to spend the 5 days with you in the launch. I mean, it really is just about taking them on that journey with you. And I mean, as someone who is like, coaching mompreneurs, I do like that they are being more selective and making sure it's the best yes for them right now, and even the clients that I have come on to my free consults, I mean, it's a clarity call. So that is the goal for me, is to help them to make a confident decision. Don't be in the land of indecision and then feel bad and beat yourself up that you didn't invest in this, or have buyer's remorse that you did invest and you haven't done the work, involved in that program. And I think that's why sometimes we are so skeptical sometimes to invest as women, because we're like, I didn't even log into the last course I bought, right? Or I didn't do, the work. Yeah. I mean, with coaching, it's different because I show up and make you do the work, but like, I want to make sure I mean this when I buy this, right? So that's kind of what we're headed into now. There are some little tweaks that I have seen that are working. So if you're looking for like what's slightly different, we used to just stream into Facebook, right? And Facebook got weird with that, and they weren't showing even the lives in people's feeds. Like there was a reason why technically we all kind of went over to Zoom, but now that we're on Zoom, it works really. People like Zoom. It's what they're used to. They're comfortable. So if I have a launch, probably about 80% of the people that are on the live are on Zoom. It just works well. It's, you meet people where they are with what platform they're comfortable with. So Zoom is definitely something that's happening with launches now. You're also seeing them streamed on YouTube. So people are catching people, the huge mega launches, they max out Zoom and they have to go on YouTube. So that's probably where that started. And other people are like, well, that's good. I have an audience on YouTube. Don't stress out if you don't have a YouTube audience. Don't feel like you have to stream into YouTube as well. I'm just saying, like, there are some things we're noticing. I also notice a lot stronger nurture between the time when they register and the day one of the launch. There's a stronger nurture needed. And that could actually be kind of fun. Contests, sharing screenshots, like just getting to, having your audience primed for the launch is important, and offering some VIP options in your free launches. So small cost, but they get more of you and your team. If you have social seller teams, or if you don't have social sellers, which is fine, or people like nurturing your audience, even if you have a VA that's helping you, or, someone that's working with you part-time, if you don't have an agency, offering them more connection with you and your team during the launch is something, it's a strong trend I'm seeing now as well. So really, when you look at it, it's really connecting with your audience. Where are they most likely to be attending? Where are they comfortable attending my launch? It is more likely on Zoom, and then just connecting with them between the time they registered and then during the workshop. Especially as our world is going like AI, I think the human connection part is going to be the differentiator for some of these launches, to have the people that are attending it feel like you matter to them.
Right. Hey, friend, can I give you permission today? Like, for real, your own permission slip. Permission to get clear, to cut out the noise. Mostly the noise that is going on around in your own mind, in your own head. It's just swirling. And you're asking yourself questions like, why am I stuck? Why am I frustrated? Why am I not making progress on my goals? I want to invite you to a free clarity call with me where we're going to dive in and we're going to identify what are the 3 main issues that are keeping you stuck. Number 2, what are the mindsets around those issues that are actually keeping you from solving for those issues? It's not our skill sets, it's our mindsets that keep us stuck and hold us back. And then number 3, identifying what are your next steps. We all have a next step, and we have 100% responsibility for those next steps. Your only next step right now is to go to the show notes and book your free clarity call so that we can work through this. I'm believing in you, and I cannot wait to see you on our clarity call. So I want to go back to your Zoom. So are they Zooming into the Facebook group as well, or just no Facebook group and straight Zoom?
You're Zooming into the Facebook group through Zoom. And you just need to set that up. You need to tell both Facebook and Zoom that that's okay. And it's very easy to do. So you're doing both, but you're live on Zoom. If you have a team, it's nice to have someone kind of watching out Facebook and pop comments over in Zoom for you, because it's hard to keep track of the chat and Facebook chat as well. So that's what happens. Even if if you're starting out new, have someone help you with that part. It's pretty easy to do. You stream it, and you can stream from Zoom. I think I have to look. I really just stream into Facebook. If you're going to stream into multi-platforms, you'd need something like
a third-party app. Restream.
StreamYard. But for most people, majority of people, it's good to go on Zoom and stream into Facebook.
Yeah. What I've seen recently, which is interesting, is so it's done on Zoom, but then I've seen from the Instagram account, they're recording it live from the Instagram. So they're recording the screen.
Yeah.
Have you seen this?
I haven't. I was in a launch where we tried to also go live on, and you need an extra phone or a mechanism because Instagram won't let you stream into it.
Right.
You have to go live on the phone. So yeah, I mean, you could try, if your audience is on Instagram, you might just go Instagram live, or do it on Zoom and then put, a link to a replay, or you really want to just look at where your audience consumes your info. I don't know that an hour-long live on Instagram is great. They'll probably end up on Zoom. If they follow you on Instagram and you've promoted it well, they get to connect with you better on Zoom. It's just easy.
Yeah. I just thought it was interesting. The first time I saw it, I was like, wait, are they in the Zoom? Like, what are they doing? Then I realized, like, no, they're actually using a phone and recording the screen for Zoom, which is, I mean, if you can't stream into Instagram, that's a workaround. So I think that's awesome, but you definitely need more hands. And here's the thing. You might have people in your community that love to do this kind of stuff. Like, they love you. They want to support you. I mean, you've seen this within my own community. Like, they would help answer questions. They would, let me know, hey, someone needs this or whatever. So it's just really helpful. You don't always have to hire out the help. I mean, professionally, if you have a skill set needed, for sure. But it's like, your kids can help you unload the dishwasher. You don't have to hire out help for that. It's like we take things to the extreme. Like, I have to spend all this money and invest all this to get the help. And sometimes your help is right there within your own community. So, all right. So what's not working? I don't know if you shared that. Like, what are you saying that's like a total bust? Or
I feel like when a launch doesn't work, it's a number. It could be one of three things, in my view.
Okay.
Either if you're not having a lot of people show up, if they're not even interested in your launch or your workshop or your masterclass, it's probably it's just not grabbing them. And it could be what you're teaching is great. The messaging isn't right. So if they're not having a lot of signups, is this like, I could get that. I could Google that and figure that out. So it needs to be like something that's really pinching them. And I understand this whole like conversation we're having about doing pain points as marketing, and there's some controversy about it. But so I don't need to say you need to say, oh, here's your pain points and I will solve them. However you want to market that feels good to you, but teaching them something in that workshop that will really matter to their life in this day and age is important. So that's one thing. You're teaching them something that week that they really need to learn, that will help them move forward in their health, their business, whatever, their parenting, whatever it is you're teaching them. They really want to learn about this topic badly. So that's like an inspiring workshop. Then you need to have the right audience that you're teaching it to. If you've done that, like we've had, I remember this one launch, we were like, who are these people? And how did they come into this? These are not qualified. Like they just, and it could be Facebook ads were being weird or whatever, but you could have the best workshop ever on the planet. But if you're teaching it to a bunch of people that are not your ideal client or are not qualified to be your client for your, in whatever capacity, that's going to create an unsuccessful launch. And the end thing is, if your program isn't something that they can see themselves transforming in, or it's not priced right, or it's a bunch of fluff, or it's not really a tested program. And like, well, I like the workshop and this, but how does that lead to my program? Right. So all three things, a great workshop that teaches them something valuable to the right audience with the right solution in the end. That's when I see launches fail. It's usually because one of those things are off. And some of them you don't always have control over, like if you're running Facebook ads for your launches, and sometimes you don't get it right. Yeah. So I say be a scientist in your launches and know that not one single launch defines you. It doesn't define your program. It doesn't define your worth as an entrepreneur, or it doesn't mean you're wrong for doing this business. Like figure out like, okay, we had great engagement. We had, there's lots of great engagements, but not a lot of people signed. Do you want to do a survey to ask why? Is there an opportunity for a downsell that you could offer that isn't your program yet? Because back in the day, we were taught you had one offer, right? Yeah. One offer. Now that's not the trend. You meet people where they are, and downsells or pulling pieces out of your program and selling as a one-off course to help them get ready. That's also a trend that I'm seeing. I know I went from what's not working to a trend, but they kind of go together, right? Like where it's not a failure, it's what can I learn from this and still either just gather data for my next one, or, okay, well, maybe my workshop needs retitled, or maybe my workshop just isn't something like I'm excited about it, but it's not something that really inspires people to attend. So it's really looking at all three pieces of those things.
Yeah.
And when one of those is off, or two of them are off, you'll have a flop of a launch. I try not to call it a failure, because it's really not, because you've learned so much.
Yeah.
So having the scientist mindset really works in the launch arena in general. And it's really, really, really hard when it doesn't go like you want, because you feel like someone just called your baby ugly. Because you put so much into it.
Yes.
Like, you have birthed this program and this launch, and for nobody to sign up or show up or buy, it feels so. Allow those feelings for give yourself 24 hours, and then okay, we're gonna go into debrief mode and really pull out what worked, what didn't work, and how we could do it again next time.
Yeah, and evaluating everything. I think that's a really important message, because especially I think as mompreneurs, as women, we do take it personal, and it is it's our baby, and like you said, it's okay to get down in there and feel all the emotions that you need to feel. But then what did we actually learn? And sometimes it's, it's not what you want to hear. I'll never forget when a coach said to me, no one's ever going to buy your program because it's called Choose You. And I was like,
you're like, but I worked so hard.
I worked so hard for it. It was, and no one else had ever said that to me. And I'm not saying that was the right answer, but I mean, at a point, and I did have people buy it. I'm like, well, I have had people, and they were like, yeah, but it's not consistently. And this is why it's, you're trying to help women to not feel guilty, but just saying those two words is making them feel guilty. And I'm like, oh, it hurt my heart so bad. And so that's when I paused on it, honestly, and was like, okay, well, let me think through that and figure this out and start doing some one-on-one coaching, which, I've been coaching women for years, but actually making that the product.
Right.
So sometimes it is doing the rebrand. It is having someone honestly share with you, I don't think that's the right offer for you to be selling and to be launching.
Well, what I loved about how you handled all of that was that you didn't then get manic and rebrand in 15 minutes. And, you thought creating something from a place of clarity is so important in this world, in the online space. Yeah. And we get reactive and we get sensitive, and all of that's normal. It's not that's not bad, but creating from that place is not really what we want to do. And I've been trying to put together a course for myself to just teach people my system for launching.
Yeah.
And you're the last person to do the stuff for yourself. But I created a Black Friday sale selling that course. And I said, going into it, I don't care if anyone buys the course, but if I'm going to say the course is for sale, it's going to make me make the course. Right. So my Black Friday sale, I didn't have any sales, but it was the exercise of doing the Black Friday sale that was important to me. So I don't want someone spending $5,000 on creating a launch and saying, oh, I'm not, we want you to have ROIs. It didn't cost me to do my Black Friday sale. But sometimes the exercise of doing a launch, it's just a momentum, right? You can do it you call it a soft launch, which is just like what my Black Friday sale was. Like, hey, I'm going to offer this, my system. My system is now for sale. And that deadline made me do it. A lot of mompreneurs can probably relate to that, right? We do for others. We don't do for ourselves. We've talked about this till we're blue in the face. But sometimes inviting people over to your house for a party is what makes you put your house together, right?
It's the truth.
I had to put on a Black Friday sale that I knew I hadn't nurtured my audience in months. I knew it wasn't likely to get sales, but it felt so good to put that together. And I was like, now the momentum has started. So even someone like myself that teaches other people or does launches for themselves, I had a flopped Black Friday sale, but you don't think that on Sunday I was like, what am I doing? Blah, blah, blah. So I was like, okay, Hallie, you can have a pity party for a little bit, but remember the reason you did this was so you actually pull your course together. So I think at different business things have different goals or different learnings. And so just because something didn't come out the way you kind of wanted it to, there's always a positive in it, whether it's learning something to apply next time, or it just helped you create some momentum in your own business for yourself.
Yeah.
And you got some data from it. And, for me, it was finding my voice again after not really being present for my own business. I've been writing emails and, there's something really good about what just happened, even though I got 0 sales, right?
Yeah. It builds your confidence.
Yeah.
You're no longer like, I don't know if you saw my social media post a couple of weeks ago about shoulding, shoulding, yes. I should do this, I should do that. Like that's shaming. And you're no longer shaming because now you did what you said you wanted to do.
Right.
So that personal integrity is back and you can have some confidence moving forward. So I think that's a really great point. Thank you so much for sharing all that. And speaking of kind of a cold audience, I wanted to ask you this. So my Facebook group that I used to do all my launches in, I mean, the people are just sitting there. Yeah. Once I launched my podcast, that was really kind of my community. I felt like, that's where I've been spending my time building, and putting free content and stuff like that out there. Right. So for someone who has, a Facebook group like that they haven't been very active in, what's your recommendation for that?
Well, here's my real answer. Do you really want to foster and be back in Facebook?
No.
Then don't worry about it.
I know, but it's like,
who cares? Just leave them there. I mean, if you decide to launch, you could either launch into that group and say, hey, we're having an event. And or you could just start a new group that's just for the launch.
Yeah.
It's funny how, when I said like you want to serve your audience, that could be through a Facebook group. If that sounds like to you, then don't worry about it. You're just serving them through your podcast.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful way to serve. Or do you like Instagram stories and lives and you're just on there all the time serving your audience? Or are you an email queen and you just love, writing words down and you're serving in that way? Like, you get to pick what works for you and the right people will come into your life. Now, it doesn't mean that you don't share it on social, right? You sharing your podcast and your emails, you're sharing, wherever you're serving, you're going to make sure people that are in other places know about it. But just because you had a Facebook group and it has several thousand people in it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you worked hard. You paid a lot of money through Facebook ads and we nurtured the heck out of them. So I understand that it feels like there's a gold mine there, but they didn't buy then, and there's no, you can always try to rekindle it by starting to go live and starting to post and engage and tell them about new things that are going on. If it's not something you want to do though, you don't have to.
Thank you for that permission.
Yeah. I mean, when we launch, let's start a new group and it's just for the people that are going to attend your workshop and they're the right audience for you. Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you can tell that old group like, hey, I'm having a launch coming. If you want to get in on it, go over there. So,
yeah, I feel like it's just unfinished business. And that's probably why I feel that way. Like I just need to go over there and just share with, like I shared with them when I launched the new website. So just little things like that I have shared with them. But I do think I need to go in there and just say, hey, this is where I'm hanging out the most. This is Instagram and on the podcast. I'd love for you to join me there. I mean, even if we turned that community into like a discussion around the podcast, I forget who it is. It has like a pod squad. So the listeners listen to the podcast, come back in the Facebook group and discuss. So I would love that, to be honest. But I just feel like I need the closure to that group. Like, hey, she's not here anymore. What happened? So I feel like
they're not wondering that when they're falling asleep at night. They're just not. But I would treat my group, because I started a group because I'm thinking I'm supposed to start a group. So I started a group and there's like 70 people in it because I never did anything with it. But I'm just treat it like another social media platform. I post in there, just like I do. If I'm going to make a post and I post it on all the platforms, I adjust it slightly for my group, just so there's some kind of activity going on in there. Until I decide for sure what I'm doing with it.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say ignore it completely. If it's easy for you to just post in there like you do all the other places, share your podcast. I love the idea of having a discussion in there, but if it doesn't feel right, then don't worry about it.
I may try the Pod Squad thing for a little bit. Kind of give them to the podcast and then let's discuss in there. Cause it would be like free coaching, honestly, if they just came in there and discussed the podcast with me.
Right.
So we'll see. Thank you for helping me talk out my thoughts.
Yeah. You have a lot of fans in there, a lot of fans in there. So it's not something that I would say like, don't worry about, my group, I could close tomorrow and nobody would know the difference, but I also look at algorithms, and if you're posting stuff on your Facebook business page, hardly anybody sees that.
Yeah.
Facebook groups tend to get a little more love from Facebook. So if you're looking at Facebook as a place where some of your people hang out, Facebook groups do perform a little bit better. And it gives a little more community. That's why I like them. But if you got burnout, it's a lot.
Yeah.
To really run a hearty Facebook group, you're in there daily, but you don't need to be in this case. Right. So, I think it's worth, doing however it feels right for you.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
So tell me, as we wrap up, what are you most excited about right now in your business or in your life or?
Well, I'm budding course that I just built, was really exciting to me. I have tried a couple different ways to I should do something for me instead of just being an agency supporting others. So I'm excited about really moving into strategy, conversations like this that I just had with you about your own, even that small piece. I said in a post that I did recently, if I won the lottery, I would do that for free because I love just talking about this world. So I'm going to move more into strategy. My team is so good at the launch support right now. I've been a good CEO, and I'm delegating more and more and more and letting go and letting them shine and seeing them do better than I did. So I'm looking forward to that and launching my course. That just if for a newbie that's wanting to launch, you just take it and it's how I do it.
Right.
So that I'm kind of excited about. And I'm thinking, how am I going to launch this? What works for me?
Yeah.
I'm probably not going to do a 5-day launch right off the bat because it doesn't make sense. So it's an interesting process for me to go through. I'm really excited about that.
Yeah.
So that's kind of coming up in 2024. So
that's awesome. So I know you have a free launch checklist, right? Can you just share a little about that?
Yeah, it's a nice PDF that gives a little bit of info about what a launch is, why they work, and then a really, really thorough, clear-cut checklist of what you need to create and do to put on a Facebook challenge style launch. You could also modify it for a 3-day masterclass or a 2-day masterclass. You just don't teach as many days, right?
Right.
So it tells you how many emails and what kinds of emails and what kind of collateral, what graphics do you need to make. So it's a really good starter for anybody that's entering the launch world. And I don't know all the things that I need to know.
Yeah.
So it's helpful to help you plan it out as long also as, check it off. And you're all welcome to join my free Facebook group, the Launch Lab, because I will, if you ask me a question in there, I will help you answer it.
Yeah.
If you're struggling with this on your own and you've downloaded my checklist and you're trying, if you have a question about it, well, how many emails are this? I'm happy to answer those in my Facebook group.
Yeah. Yeah. That's awesome. We'll put the links to all the things in our show notes for everyone. And this was so fun to catch up with you and see your beautiful face and hear your beautiful heart for supporting mompreneurs and entrepreneurs. So thank you so much for coming on the show. This was fun.
Thanks for having me. It was so nice catching up.
Yes. Yes. All right, friends. Well, I'll catch you on the next episode. And I'm believing in you always. Well, that's a wrap, friends. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. I really hope it met you right where you are and gave you some encouragement for your day. Could you do me the biggest favor and leave me a rating and review? Seriously, it's the best way for you to support the show. And while you're there, be sure to follow the show so you never miss an episode. Thanks again. And until next time, I am believing in you always.